Alright, see here, I should be online and live. Alright, so I'm going to continue on with this Foodog, and I realized that a lot of the dog is different. You know, like there's so many different types of dogs out here. I've just been looking at these, and so I think just going through here and starting to add in some just different ideas here, different cuts, and things like that to kind of emphasize and move and kind of round out and kind of play with this, I think is going to ultimately make kind of a good concept. All right, so I think I've got a decent face going here, and I'm going to start by adding in, finish the eye here, and I want to finish the mouth and stuff. So to do that, I'm going to simply cut. So basically move, these little things, just a hair here and a hair there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to flatten this out. So we're going to flatten that out, and that looks good. And I think that's the most forward here. And then we're going to grab these little pieces and move them just slightly down so that I've got kind of the edge here. And then I'm going to grab that edge and start building up like that. And that'll build kind of the back end of the face. And then the nice thing about that is I'm going to just kind of build it up here, like so. Alright, kind of vertice, and start kind of cleaning up and collapsing. There we go. And kind of building that up like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually create a different plane in here. Something along the lines of like this. And I'm going to actually do two different things with it. And so sometimes when you're doing this type of thing, you really want to sit down and think about kind of the idea of geometry before you start dealing with anything. So if I go to edit poly here, I'm going to grab let's grab this and start pulling forward. Let's scale. I'm just going to grab some of this here and scale it over. And I'm kind of, what I'm doing is I'm prepping the lower mouth here. And so let's actually grab this and move it over here. Grab that and move it over here. And so what's happening here is I've got my curvatures. So I'm going to collapse this one, and I'm going to grab that and collapse that. And so that kind of angles this around here like so. And so you can see here from the mouth, I've got different kind of a flow going on here. So I don't think, I'll keep that one in there. But what I'm going to do is, let's here, go here, move this forward and rotate it flat like this, and then I'm going to actually scale and move back like so. So that is kind of my overlying jaw right there, and I'm going to kind of try and finish or fit this in here with the pieces so that it kind of makes sense. So I'm probably going to rotate. Let's see, viewport. Viewport moves back. Okay, so, and then I'm going to, like so, and that looks about right. Let's grab these, move it up over here a little bit. Grab some of these and start pulling them like so. And so once I get that kind of properly done, I'm going to grab this and I'm just going to hold shift down and I'm going to make a copy for now. And so with this, I've got kind of the process of, let's cut 1 and cut 2. And so what I'm going to do is grab, and if I NURM this, in 2018, that should work. Alright, something's not right here. Let me go to Customize User Interface. And let's go to N, and so I believe it's called NURM Toggle Poly right there. And I'm going to assign the hotkey of space. I'm going to assign it. I'm going to save this off as 51154. Let's replace this. And so now I should, there we go, that's perfect. So what I'm going to do is go into Polygon, grab this, and I'm going to extrude. So I'm just going to move that up, and I'll shape it later. I'm just going to move that up. So now when I do that, I've got like kind of 2 indentations for teeth. And I'm going to do this one here, and that's another tooth, and then I'm going to have a lot of little ones down here. So what I'm going to do is go in here, and I'm debating if I want to add more loops or if I want to, I don't know what I want to do yet. Let's go to loop. Let's start adding some loops in here. So I'm going to add 1, 2, and then we're going to add 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so I have a lot of loops in here. And then what I'm going to do is grab actually, you know what? I'm going to just do this. We're going to simplify the geometry so that I'm going to cut versi, and I'm going to move every other one of these like so. Maybe scale that a little bit. And then what I'm going to do is go to Polygon, grab all of these, and extrude. Like so. And there we go. I mean, it's crude, and it needs some shaping done, but ultimately it works for my purposes. I mean, I can go in, grab these, start pulling these forward, giving that kind of teeth feel. I should be working on screen view. And then I should be grabbing the majority of these and kind of rounding them out a little bit so it's not so, I want to call it, perfect here. Then I'm going to grab these, round that out like so, and polygon, grab this one, and extrude that one just a hair, and just a hair. Alright, and so I have my kind of Foodog lips here. I just need to kind of match that up with everything else here. And so I'm going to add a tongue in there, and I'm going to add the tongue like this. So we're just going to add the tongue in there like so. I'm going to grab this one and pull a little bit forward. And we're just going to move that up a little bit and out. And I'm going to grab this edge loop here, and we're just going to extrude that out a little bit and kind of move it up a little bit like so. Maybe even just out a hair. And so with that, we're going to grab this, and I think we're going to grab that little corner piece here. Right there we go. And again, like so. Then we're just going to grab all of this and delete. We don't need it. In fact, I don't need a lot of this either. And actually, I'll leave that piece in there. I can always delete it later. All right, so I've got the start of, if I near this out, I've got the start of the teeth, and so I need to start forming and kind of adding in loops and things like that. So it's pretty easy to do. I'm going to add a swift loop in here, and so you can see that already kind of solidifies that. You add one there, that solidifies that. I'm going to add one in there, and that's going to kind of ring that around. And same thing here. And same thing back here. Alright, so that kind of changes that aspect. And I can always add normals and bumps and other things like that. And we're just going to start with grabbing some edges here. And we're just going to move that. Oops. Alright, let's move that a little bit like so. Let's move that a little bit like so. And I'm going to grab all of these. Kind of move it out and around. Grab these. Scale down. Probably grab these. Pull that out a little bit. Start grabbing some of these and pulling that back. Alright, so as you can see, I've got kind of the idea of my teeth going on. I can grab some of these here. Actually, let's change this back to view here. So I'm going to grab some of these here, and I'm going to grab a couple of these, and then make sure it goes up and down, which I think I did okay. Alright. And then I just need to match it to everything else here. So I need to kill some of the geometry, still maintaining some of the geometry for the mouth and things like that. So I'm going to just slowly start kind of shoving things over, moving it around a little bit here and there. Alright. Let's grab this edge here. Actually, let's go in polygon. Grab that polygon. Actually, grab that next polygon there. And we're going to bring it up and a little bit over. Okay, now I need to start cleaning up some of these polygons so that they're not so so much geometry in one spot. And so the way to do that is to start not collapsing, but start removing some of this. So if I go to here and I cut, let's see how I'll do this. So I'm going to cut from here to here all the way through, and that's going to make an edge loop, right? So that's the kind of first start here. I think my batteries are going dead. Alright. So I'm going to start off like so. Alright. Let's go perspective, zoom. Okay. So I've got that cut in spot, and then what I'm going to do is start kind of building up the geometry. So actually, let's use this line to our advantage here. Grab this, and we're just going to kind of pull it down, and that's going to give the teeth a little bit more height to it. But the next thing I'm going to do is, let's chamfer that. Yeah. So while we're there, we're going to chamfer that, and we're going to have to do it by numbers because of scale here. So that looks good. And then, so what I'm going to do is grab this one here. Actually, let's go into vertice. I think it'll be easier. And let's start target welding. So this one here goes there. That creates a polygon from there to there. So this one here creates a polygon from there to there. Now the triangles seem like a lot, but it's actually not that bad, because ultimately what we'll do to get rid of the triangles is cut from here to here, and then that creates a nice little edge loop within the edge loop. So when we kind of play with it and manipulate it, you can see here that I went from 3 polygons to 1. And so that's just a little bit of pre-planning. You know, I'm going to go from here to here, and from here to here, and again, I'm going to cut from here to here, and that's going to give me my quads that I have in place. And so what I'm doing is I'm reducing the outer edge so that they can connect. And so, and again, actually go to target weld. There we go. And let's grab this one, and let's just move it back here. Now, another thing I could do is, now that I'm like breaking this down, breaking this apart, let's see how much battery life is in this bad boy here. So now that I'm breaking this down and breaking this apart, I could even go further on and kind of reduce some of these polygons even further. But I'll just kind of go with my method right now. So, and again, cut from here to here, and it's kind of creating some stretch geometry. So I think I'm going to play with that a little bit. But that gives me more than enough. Like, I went from what, 9 to down to 4. So then what I'm going to do is start building, and I'm going to go into here, grab this, and I'm going to just actually add an edge loop in here, something like that. And then what I'm going to do is go into this here, and I'm going to grab this, and I'm going to go into my snaps tool, and I'm going to take off grid points, and I'm going to just snap the vertices. So once that snaps, I should be able to just simply kind of snap these pieces accordingly. So you can see everything's been kind of linked together. And I'm not going to attach it right away because I've got more work, and it's easier to work on something small like this than it is to deal with a massive, like, kind of piece. And so I'm just going to kind of go in here, grab some of this, and turn off my angle snap here so I don't snap everything to place. And that's going to snap over there. And grab that, pull that down. So that looks starting to look good right there. And let's take care of this back here. I think this is actually pretty easy. We're just going to go target weld this back here. Target this over there. And then let's see if we can just do this one back here. And then this one over there. And so by doing that, I think I might just be able to clean up some of this a little bit better. So I've got triangle up here, which we'll deal with. But I've got two triangles here, and if I actually go and control backspace that out, the triangle doesn't move or doesn't go anywhere. So that's a plus. And if I do the same thing over here, like if I go into, let's see if we just do this. So if I go into this edge loop here, and delete, control backspace that piece, and control backspace this piece right here. We have n-gons, but if I actually go into the target weld tool here, and target weld, and then snap this one to here, and then this one to here, this one to here, and then this one to here, I still maintain my quad geometry, which quads is not like, you know, if you don't have quads, it generally isn't the end of the world, especially for something non animated. But I always feel that the more habit you get into something like this, the more you sit there and kind of work with this stuff, the better life gets down the road here. I mean, it's you know, it's just one of those things that, you know, you're saving yourself time, you're saving yourself energy. You know, life is that much easier. And so if we do the same thing for this here, so like I go into this one here, and I'll start off with, let's see here, let's start off with this piece here. And I just don't need that much geometry in the tongue, and that's the reason I'm going to get rid of some of the geometry, so that it just makes life a little bit easier. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of this. So I'm just going to collapse all this and ring that, collapse that. So that cleans up the tongue. And collapse that, collapse that. And this is why sometimes perspective mode is, if we go orthographic, you'll just see more of the, I don't know, the information here. So we're just going to, oops, grab that, and then we are basically, here we are. So we add more geometry in there, and I think that's okay. So we collapse that one, and we go into, let's actually just do this. So we're going to grab that, collapse that, and then we're going to go ring, collapse all that, and that cleans up that a little bit more. The tongue comes to a little bit more point, so we're just going to start pulling out some of this geometry here. then finally, and so as you start seeing, you know, and that's what I'm doing, is I'm just looking for shapes and things like that. So all right. And so some of this is, I think, you know, I'm looking at it, and I'm going to keep it simple. I'm not going to go too crazy on this, but I wonder if I grab this here, and let's try and ring it, and my ring is not working. Sometimes things, I don't know, I think it's, I'm going to see if I can load my custom UI, and I think it's on the desktop. No, it's not on the desktop, so no, not cancel UI. Load custom, custom user interface here. Let's load, and this one is 511, and this one is 720. So let's see if that just works. Okay, so I'm going back to here, and this is ring, collapse. Oh yes, so much better. Custom UIs are amazing. You really should sit down and spend the time to actually build and work on a custom UI. And if you want to add more geometry, you can, but I mean, if I'm just creating something, you know, relatively simple, you know, looking at this, I'm probably going to go into Polygon here, grab these two, this two, and kind of move them to the right, and that adds in a little bit of information there. And if I go into and add a swift loop up here, that's going to flatten that out a little bit, like so. So that flattens that out. That's okay. A lot of this I can, you know, take other places, and you know, I can hire Poly, I can do whatever I want with it. And so I think I'm going to call that one done. Actually, let's see if we can. I just don't need as much geometry in this tongue, and I'm just trying to like collapse it a little bit. So we're just going to go here, collapse this one, ring, and collapse. And so that's just less geometry in the tongue. I've got the teeth geometry. I can, you know, I can go in and I can play around with it, and kind of manipulate it however I need it. Rotate this a little bit. But again, I'm not worried about like ultimately the end goal. I'm worried about, you know, just how it's going to look in the long run. All right, so we're going to call that one done for now, and then this top one here, I'm going to flip it. Oh, not that way. I guess that way. So we're going to flip it down and down like so. And I'm just going to flip mirror, and I'm going to say no clone, and make sure that's okay. And we're just going to kind of fold up like so. Let's see, maybe scale it down a little bit, move it over. Okay, so I've got this. Now I need to, like, I can already see that I need to kind of adjust things accordingly, but I'm going to move this off to the side, and I've got my pieces in there, and so I can start swift looping some of this. like so. And then I'm going to take my one piece, which is here, and I'm going to, I'm going to just extrude it once, extrude it again, and extrude it again. Oh, whoa, wait, way too extruded. Let's just off the edge a little bit here, so that looks good. Alright, let's grab okay, and this may look ugly, but you know, again, I don't need it to be super intensive. Save. And this is, after all, only half of it, so we're just going to kind of scale that in. Polygon. Extrude once, just really tiny, and then extrude again. And again, that looks, I think that looks okay. Alright, grab that one, delete, grab that one, and hit delete. Keep things as simple as possible. Okay, so I'm going to move that back in place, which is good. And then I'm going to grab these two, and I'm going to go Control W here. And I'm going to make sure that we kind of seam these back here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this one here, and we're going to go 4, and I'm going to just hit, ooh, not my ring, I'm going to hit my grow, so pus. And I'm just going to kind of grab some of this and start pulling it up a little bit, make a little bit more of a mouth cavity. And there we go. And then that gives me this right here. So I can kind of figure out, like, I need to pull some of this up so that there's some spacing in there. And so when you have to do like a mass thing like this, the best way to do this is to add an FFD and go into the control points, and then we can just kind of grab the control points and start pulling up. And so something as simple as that, collapse all, and that looks okay. Need to play with some of this a little bit, but alright, somewhere along the way I got a ton of geometry added in here, but I don't think it's geometry, so let's see what's going on here. Subdivisions on, subdivisions off. maybe it's just not looking right in my window here. So grab this and start pulling some of that. And I'm okay with that, I guess. Okay, now the key point in this is this piece right here. So what we want to do is we need to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need to remove 1. And actually that's not that big a deal, because what I can do is, how am I going to do this? I want that for the groove in the tongue. Okay. So I'm 1 over. I can either A, add 1, or B, subtract 1. And honestly, I'd rather subtract 1. So let's figure out how to subtract 1 here. Let's do... let's match them up. These two together, these two together, this one. So I need to add 1 in here. You know what? Let's do a swift loop. Ooh, undo that. I don't know why. Why is that? I don't know why that's doing this weird geometry thing here going on, but I don't know, unless I got a hotkey for norming, which I don't think I do. Alright, but alright, I'm not going to worry about that right now. But what I'm going to do is, anyway, and I think it's just a matter of going in here and adding another piece of geometry. But what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to go an edge, I'm going to grab this, and it's going to go all the way to here and actually stop. So let's take that off. Let's go here, and then what I'm going to do is we're just going to 1 and 2, and that should line up relatively decent there. So we're just going to kind of scale that one down, and let's drop off the isolation here. And there we go. So now I'm going to take this here, and I'm happier with the flatness of the so I'm just going to snap this like so, like so, kind of like that. And we're going to snap this one up over here. Snap that one up over here. And we're going to snap this up somewhat over here like so. And then this one will go That one snaps there. This one snaps there. So I've kind of got my flow and loop here. So I think that's good. I just need to clean up my stuff here. So I'm just going to grab some of these, kind of move them. Grab that, kind of pull that out a little bit. Alright, and then let's start pulling out. I think what I'm going to just do is start pulling out massive quantities here. So we're going to pull that out a little bit. Pull that out. And that gives me there. Pull that out. And so I think that looks good. So that's a good start to my Foodog face. And I think that's better if I go with this. And add a little bit more kind of peak in that. I'm just going to start grabbing some of the geometry here and start pulling accordingly. And then I'm going to fill in this gap here. So to fill in this gap here, actually grab the border, hold shift, and scale like so. And then I can pull that back in, and that basically gives me kind of a ring around that. And I can pull these pieces here a little bit more for the cheek, kind of implement those. Alright, so that looks good. And then when it comes to this here, you know what, I added these pieces in, but I'm going to keep it simple. Always keep it as simple as possible. And so we've got 2 and 2. Let's add in a swift loop like right there, and a swift loop like right there. And then that gives me, just go bridge now. There's my, like so. And I'm going to play with the move tool here a little bit. And I'm kind of going away from my original design, but that's okay. Alright. Then what I'm going to do is probably pull this down a little bit. Let's go in 4 and then grab this. And let's bevel. And let's pull that out just a hair. Let's go on the ring. Let's chamfer that. Let's go way down though. so. Grab this and start pulling it over like so. Grab that. And let's pull that over like so. And start rounding out. There we go. Kind of over dramatic, but I think it works. All right. Grabbing this, I'm gonna hit save here. And let's unhide all at once. Okay, so taking said dog off the table here. Go in, grab this one, grab polygons, and we're just going to hit. Oops. There we go. So we hit delete like so. And like I said, keep it simple. I mean, the more that you cut, the more that you have to deal with from a vertice standpoint, and the more you have to kind of deal with things. So, like toes, all right? So we've got toes here, and I like the simple idea. And so instead of having to construct all these toes all over, because there's 4 sets here, I'm going to do something a little bit different here. So since we're doing planes today, we're just going to go here. And let's scale that a little bit. So let's go 3 by 3. Let's do something like that. I hate that color too because it's really hard to look at. Okay, so toe. Let's do collapse to an editable poly, and let's start shaping. So a toe is grabbing 4 corners, scaling like so, grabbing 3, scaling like that. Oh, my scale tool got changed, but that's okay. That looks good. And then let's grab the middle here. And let's pull. And so I essentially kind of have a toe now. I'm going to add in a swift loop down the middle here. And let's add a swift loop in the middle here. Yeah, I think that looks good. And then, actually, you know what? Let's grab this edge here and chamfer. As close as possible. And again, think about geometry. So I'm going to grab this one here, target weld it to like so. Grab that one there, target weld that. And I'm maintaining still the same shape. I'm just changing the geometry up a little bit. Yeah, I think that looks good. Okay, so let's grab this one and this one, and let's scale it out a little bit. Let's move it a little bit down. Let's add a swift loop in there, and let's grab. Let's see how it looks smoothed out. I think that looks pretty good. Let's take away the cage. Yeah, so I've basically taken this and I've got my knuckles, I've got kind of this rough idea here. And what I can do, let's go in my edge mode here. I'm going to grab this and hold shift down, and that's going to kind of round things out a little bit more. So that looks good, all right? Doesn't have to be super perfect, but it gives me kind of what I want. And then what I'm going to do is cut Alright. And let's target weld. Okay. Grab that edge loop, pull that out. Grab that polygon. And let's extrude once and twice, and let's see what we can do with the collapse. No, let's undo the collapse. Let's take and all right. There we go. So I've got one kind of toe here. And what I'm going to do is grab this geometry, and we're going to scale a little bit forward. Grab these and scale these even forward. So now we've got kind of these two humps in there. Okay? So, idea done, right? I'm going to hold in shift, like so. I'm going to attach this other toe here. And when I do the NURMS, it's going to smooth it out. But until that point, we're just going to grab these 2 points here, collapse, and so all of that now is kind of put together. And I can elongate and kind of shape and play with a little bit of this stuff here, so no big deal. But the main thing is I've got the shape in there. And let's clone that one over here. And let's hit attach. And again, do the same thing. So, in fact, I wonder if I can just get away with. I know this is going to go wrong. Sometimes you just got to try. Nope, horribly wrong. Okay. Actually, we might just be able to do a weld, though. Let's see here. No, let's skip the weld. Do it by manual. Collapse. Oops, undo. Collapse. There we go. So we've got these 4 claws here, and I can simply start adding a little bit more geometry. And the nice thing about this is I can do some simple things. So close this, go here, go to an FFD, let's do a 3x3 block, and start playing with some numbers here. So we can grab that, grab that, and let's even grab some of these here. Maybe pull this a little bit more. And collapse all. So yes. Yeah, there's something going on with my... Unless I'm collapsing. I don't think I'm collapsing. Anyway. So we're going to grab this and we are going to go like so. Maybe even, let's go element and scale just a hair down. And we are going to basically cap that like so. And grab that one and copy that and put it back here like so. And I think this one, I'm just going to kind of squash a little bit more. And this one can be wider, and this one is going to be a little bit narrower. So I think that's what I'm going to do. Just, that's a little bit tight, so let's just not as much. Okay. So, with that in mind, now I've got the claws going on. Okay, and sometimes it's easier to do small pieces and figure out how to put them together than dealing with, you know, a ton of information. So like an example is now I've got to just basically start with going into the edge mode here, and we're going to grab all of these. Like so. Hold shift. And kind of add in and let's just scale that inward a little bit. Grab that. Let's scale that inward a little bit. All right. Okay. All right. So I've been doing this for about an hour. I've got the mouth kind of done. I've got the face just about done. I've got I want to start on the head, which is going to be a little bit longer of a session because it's so intricate. But we're going to do it the same way we did everything else. So, all right, thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a holler.